played against him so many times, be it national team, be it Chelsea, a lot of times.
Group D is going to be pretty bonkers tomorrow. Quite extraordinary the way in which it's all played out. All four teams, of course, Croatia already through. The three remaining sides all have the possibility to advance. It's Argentina against Nigeria. If Argentina beat Nigeria and Iceland fail to beat Croatia, then it will be Argentina going through. But other results could see Lionel Messi and the Argentina squad going home early. So much talk in the Argentinian press about what Sampaoli is going to do. So I made you Sampaoli, Alan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And this is the 11 you think he should go with.
Yes, and so first of all, I'm going away from that back three because I don't think Argentina knew what in the world they were doing on the field. So I'm going to give with a back four with Mercado, Tamendi, Rojo, and Tagliafico. And those are the players that I have available. Mascherano will be in the midfield. He'll sit in behind. Vanega will help some defensively, but also will provide some help offensively with some creative activities in the final third. As for Salvio and Di Maria, just give me an outlet down the right-hand side and the left-hand side. Please stay wide. Give us some space to work so that Messi can operate underneath Kun Agüero.
There you are.
And by the way, you see
Willie coming out?
Oh, yes. How could I forget? Willie Caballero, you're out. Well, he deserved it. Sorry, he deserved it.
I mean, let's be honest. The team that Sampaoli picked for the last game, they didn't know if they were having a dinner or having a haircut. I mean, honestly, they were so...
Two very similar.
They were so bad. That's how bad they were. I mean, they made all these good players that they had, and I mentioned them, Otamendi, Aguero, Messi, they made them all look average in that side. So, in fact, the very fact that he's picking the team, if indeed he is picking the team again, is amazing.
I am. I am.
Well, no, but when he eventually picks the team for this game, I thought the Argentinian FA would have bombed them out before the last game. That's how bad it's been. But they haven't, and let's see where it takes them.
Shaka, you got Nigeria winning this game.
Yeah, 1-0. I'm giving you a score and everything.
Yeah,
my issue with Argentina is they already have their scapegoat in Sampaoli. And I think for Argentina to advance in this group, to get the better Nigeria, they needed to get rid of him. They needed to get rid of their excuse. Because as long as he's there, they have that. And I just don't see how the mood improves in that dressing room from the last game to this one, enough that they can somehow put together a result. I just don't see it.
Let's just say that the mood improves enough, as you were talking about. Let's just say that somehow they're able to forget what just happened, which is impossible to forget. But let's just say they've turned the page, right? Okay. Tactically speaking, all I want from that group that I put out there is Di Maria, run up and down the left flank.
Yeah.
Salvio, run up and down the right-hand side. Give us some width so that there is space for Messi to work underneath so that then he can get on the ball in the attacking half. Not receiving the ball from center backs, not receiving the ball from Mascherano, but receiving it in the attacking half where he can make decisions and Agüero can run off a defender. If you do that just a few times on the field, it does give the opportunity to the best player in the world to do something magical. It's going to take some magic because this team is all over the place. I'm trusting Argentina simply because I trust Messi, and that's about it.
But you're trusting your team that you picked.
Hey,
what the hell he's going to do, nobody knows.
But of course, it could be a fair
point.
They could beat Nigeria, and still, if Iceland beat Croatia, who are already through, then it doesn't matter what Argentina. Is that a possibility? Can Iceland?
Yes, because they beat them in the qualifying campaign. They topped the group ahead of Croatia. It was one apiece in the games. Iceland won in Iceland, Croatia won in Croatia. And then the Croatian coach said he was going to make changes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure the changes he's going to make are still going to be decent enough players. But the emphasis for them has kind of changed somewhat, especially after that dramatic win over Argentina. So it is possible, but I could see a draw in that game. I don't see Iceland beating Croatia.
Right, goal difference and tiebreaks, of course, could all come into play. We could be drawing lots. Who knows, Shaka? Who's going through? Nigeria?
Nigeria and Croatia.
Croatia, Argentina.
Croatia, Argentina.
The group stages of the World Cup are wrapping up, and Paul Mariner and I have the tough task of predicting what could happen, because we don't know if they're actually going to happen the way we think things will happen. All right, Maras, let's start off with this one. Australia against Peru.
Peru are finding it difficult to score goals. Australia are not exactly lighting the tournament up. I'm going to be fairly boring and say this is going to be a draw.
Oh, you're so fancy. Well, Australia have to win this one and hope that France will beat Denmark. They have to win by at least 2 goals if they want to advance. Plus, ESPN FC will be on Australian television tomorrow. I'll be hosting, so I'm going to go with the soccer
course
league
you are.
in this one. Why not? I'm going to pick them to get the couple early goals and then hold off Peru, although Peru just need a lot more help in finishing. And here's this one. Is this one pretty straightforward for you, Mariner? France, Denmark.
I think it is. Denmark, they're not, they're not banging goals in left, right and centre. I've been a little bit disappointed with my selection to win it. France, they're not firing on all cylinders for me, even though they are eking out, results. I think they'll start to grow into the tournament, and I'm going with a France victory.
You're not going to see any arguments from me here with this one. I'm going to go with Le Bleu. Now is where things get even more interesting because this is Argentina's group and we know exactly the state that they are in. But let's start off with Iceland against a high-flying Croatia that's already qualified for the round of 16.
And I think they want to keep the momentum going. I think they want to obviously top the group, which I'm sure they will do. We know exactly how this game's going to go. Iceland are going to sit in. Croatia are going to have all the possession. They've got creativity. Mandzukic will wreak havoc through the middle. The supporting cast of Modric and Rakitic will pull all the strings. Nice game for Croatia. Win.
I think that you just hit the nail on the head for that one. I mean, Croatia against Argentina were just absolutely having a laugh. They were having fun, and it was paying off for them. They're already through. I think they will just definitely finish with another win. Now then, let's get to it, guys. Okay, Nigeria. Those Super Eagles have been flying high in their last game out. Argentina, the pressure is on them. The criticism is on them.
Absolutely.
Everything is on them. Do you expect them to come out and get this
result?
result?
They've got to do. I mean, the nation is in mourning about this team. The criticism throughout the world, where's Messi been? So, is he the best player in the world? This tournament, absolutely not. Ronaldo making him look very, very average. Sampoli has got to get the selection right.
Yeah.
It kills me that he can't get his best players in a system to perform for this country. You've got Mascherano in the holding role. He's 34 years of age.
And
Can they not find another player from Argentina to play in that position? So I think what he'll do, I think he'll bomb his fullbacks on. I think he'll play Rojo and he'll play Otamendi. He'll get the protection in front. He'll bomb on. Messi will find pockets, and they'll win.
And they'll win.
They've got to win. They've got to win.
They've got to win. Well, some would argue they had to win from the start. All right, well, we'll see. Because the Super Eagles, young team, everyone was waiting for them to come into their own. I thought they did that in the last game. I think they're having fun. They don't really have the pressure. So I'm going to sit on the fence and go for a draw in this one, just because I really don't know. And our great analyst, Mario Kempes, even said we could light all of the candles and say our prayers to all of the saints, and he still doesn't think Argentina will get the results. So if Mario Kempes says that, I'm going to go with it. Sorry, Argentina fans. Thanks so much to Paul Mariner for this one. Controversial predictions here from us. Continue tracking them to see exactly what happens in these two groups here at ESPN FC.
Hello and welcome to Extra Time. What a day in the old World Cup.
Hey. Hope tomorrow's like it.
It's brilliant, wasn't it? Tomorrow will.
I mean, at least sat in that room where we sit.
Yep, lots of people in that room today.
It was crowded.
It was.
Don't make it sound like a dungeon.
Well, it was very...
Are we making it sound like a dungeon?
Just all sitting in that room with all those people.
Well, there was a lot of people in our room today.
Don't make it sound like a dungeon.
You were sat very...
You were sat in Nichols' seat. There was people in that room that shouldn't have been in that room. There was people that...
You want some security on the door?
There was a rather large Scottish gentleman sort of floating behind me, and it wasn't Steve Nichols.
Away from the World Cup, Craig, how did you enjoy the golf tournament on Sunday?
I didn't spend, as I said to you, I didn't spend too long there.
No?
I went for about 3 hours, and then I scurried home before the traffic to try and catch the end of it, to see Paul Casey winning.
Yes.
Or not.
Oh, damn. Well, that worked out.
It's a lovely one. I mean, down there at the Travellers is great.
You go around getting autographs from your favourite players?
I was disguised. Oh, sorry, did I get autographs?
Oh, yeah, it's all about you getting autographs.
Hold on. You can't just brush that aside.
I'm right here.
No.
I'm right here.
I don't know this, guys.
Please.
I go
So many
incognito.
questions,
I go
one at a time.
I go incognito, right? I'm not like that. I know I don't chase players for autographs, and I don't tweet players. And I don't tweet celebrities
Oh, why not?
and sports celebrities. I don't do it. But there's some who do. Well, people who do, they tag them, think as if they're going to respond to them.
Well, they will. Nice to know support.
You know the ones. You know the ones.
I know we're still in the group
That
stages,
was
but
very
this has to be one of the best World Cups ever so far. Thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah, it has been good. Hasn't it?
That has been good.
Yeah.
A lot of upsets, a lot of drama.
Yes. But could that be bad going forward?
Yeah, well, there's going to be 48
Right.
teams. Enjoy it while you can.
Well, like if Argentina don't qualify, then Argentina aren't there. It's not quite as exciting, is it?
Well,
It's
they-
like
Why?
It's like when Portsmouth and Cardiff made it to the final.
Once again,
FA Cup.
if you get through, it's because you deserve to. We had this discussion with Italy and all US. Oh, it'd be lesser tournament because they're not there. No, it's not. If you're not there, it's because you don't deserve to be there.
Wait a minute, you're saying that this is one of the best tournaments without Italy being a part of it and without the US being a part of it?
Yeah.
Oh, controversy. And the Dutch.
They should. It was,
And
it was
Chile.
up to them.
Oh, yeah.
They had the opportunity to qualify. They didn't. That's their fault.
Without Venezuela?
Well,
Tell you what, let's enjoy this one.
Yeah, it has been good.
It's been brilliant.
Because when it gets to 48 teams, and that's, I believe, is that Qatar 2022?
no, 2026.
All right, 2026. Enjoy this in the next one then.
Right. Next
be
one's going to be at Winter.
Don't enjoy it then.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
When it gets to 48, it's going to be diluted.
I don't know if Shaq's going to be around by the time we get to 2026.
Why, what's wrong with him? Health-wise?
He's in, he's in his late 40s.
Hold on.
Are we going to be retired
Well, no.
as a 401k?
There was a guy my age playing today.
Well, that says something about you then.
That's my age.
Not really your age, Shaq.
Mid 40s.
No. You've gone past mid-40s and moved
Mid
on.
40s.
What are you going to do for your 50th, Shaq?
Well, that's a long time away.
Well, obviously.
But a lot of time to plan.
I gotta say, it's before the next World Cup, I'll tell you that much.
Well,
You'll
before,
be 60 by the next one.
before the 48 team will.
Don't be deceived by his good looks.
You're an old man. I don't know if I can work with you, old man.
What do you make of Morocco's performance at the World Cup? It seems they lacked luck in every game they played.
I thought they played well. They outplayed Iran, which wasn't a surprise, but then they outplayed Portugal. Didn't get the job done. Played some good stuff, and then played some great stuff against Spain.
Yeah.
Played some good stuff, but are out. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay.
Is that enough of that now?
All right. Yeah.
You going back to the yard goats now?
Hun?
Nothing.
What?
John. Oh,
ESPN FC back tomorrow. You here tomorrow, Annie?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah? Correct.
Nope. I'm not here.
Oh, yeah, you're on the early show.
I'm on the early show.
Oh, there we go. But we will be here, of course, to break it down. You can see us exclusively on ESPN+.
At FIFA's request, both Australia and Peru moved their final training sessions away from Fish Stadium to protect the pitch ahead of their final Group C clash here in Sochi tomorrow. Peru are, of course, at their first World Cup in 36 years, but that campaign will come to an end at the final whistle tomorrow, and they are desperate to go out in style. They've got a huge contingent of travelling fans who are so passionate, and the team would dearly love to give them something to cheer about before they leave. Their coach, Ricardo Gareca, is enormously popular with fans, with players and with media alike. He spent most of his press conference fending off questions about his future with the national team. He waved them away, saying his only concern right now is to leave this tournament with 3 points. He did confirm that Jefferson Farfan will not play as he continues to recover from the collision that he had in training, which rendered him unconscious. So he won't play, but captain Paulo Guerrero will. He, of course, appears at the World Cup after a drugs ban was lifted. That was following a big appeal from numerous members in world football. One of them was Socceroos captain Mile Jedinak, and Guerrero says he hopes to thank him in person tomorrow and maybe even give him a hug. For the Australian side, Bert van Marwijk was his usual reticent self, but he did say that he was feeling a little bit Australian after such an intensive time with the Socceroos. He refused to talk technically and tactically about his plan for tomorrow, but he said one thing's a certainty, and that's that goalkeeper Matt Ryan will start in goal. Now, Matt Ryan will make his 47th appearance for the Socceroos tomorrow, and there'll be 27 people in the stands who will be cheering him on. That's the amount of family he's flown over to follow him through Russia. And while he says that his individual performance is less important than the collective team performance, he knows that he's making memories for everyone, and that's what the World Cup is all about, making memories, and the Socceroos hope to make many more after the whistle tomorrow.
It's quite extraordinary, really. Morocco 2, Spain 2. Spain coming from behind to get the draw. Diego Aspas getting the equaliser. Meanwhile, it finished Iran 1, Portugal 1. Iran had a chance late on as well to win it, and if they did, it would be them going through, not Portugal. But in the end, it is the two favourites to advance in Group B. This was crazy, Fred, wasn't it?
Well, it is when you think right down to the last couple of minutes that Iran could have won the group.
Yeah.
Iran could have won the group with Spain and Portugal, who are the current European champions. I think it's just typical of this World Cup.
Yeah.
This World Cup has generally not been boring. But there's something clearly something's not quite ticking with the Spanish side. Clearly, with all the controversy of the coach being sacked on the start of the World Cup, but clearly, and I'm looking at the defence more than anything, clearly defensively, teams are getting a hatful of chances against them, and that's worrying for Spain.
This was kind of 2014 Spain, wasn't it? This is where we saw them crash out of the World Cup last time. They were not very good today at all.
No, and defensively, to Craig's point, the idea that from a throw-in, you can go into a 1v1 situation and a clear chance for Morocco, you think to yourself, well, what's going on here? The fact that you can make a very, very strong argument that Gerard Piqué should have been thrown out of this game. He comes in two-footed. I have no idea how VAR doesn't intervene. I don't know how they don't tell the referee, hey, you might want to take a look at this play, because he's lunging, he studs up, he's showing the bottom of his shoes. For me, it's a red card. It's not given. And so then you expect Spain to start playing better. And they get back to the game 1-1, and you think that they're going to create chances. You think that they're going to be the better team, but it just wasn't the case. This was an even match, and one that could have gone either way. And as Morocco, they deserve something out of this game. They hit one off the post. What a great shot that was. Yep. Unfortunate not to score there. Eventually, they go up to 1, and it's Spain sort of hanging on, hoping that something happens in the end, and something does happen with a tremendous finish by Diego Aspas. But it shouldn't be this way. Not for Spain, not for this group of players, not for the sort of talent that they have. But they have their issues, and there's no question about that.
What's wrong with them, Shaq?
I just don't think they found their rhythm, or so you would think, or so it would seem. But at the same time, before I go on to criticize Spain, I think we've got to give both Morocco and Iran a lot of credit here. Morocco had absolutely no chance of getting out of the group, yet still both these teams get a point, and it's the absolute least they deserve. There are a couple of contentious red cards that could have gone against European giants, but it didn't. But at the same time, you just wonder if it's a closing of the gap between some of Europe's big boys and some of the others in world football. But at the same time, you expected a whole lot more from Spain. You just wondered, let's keep in mind that Spain didn't get out of the group 4 years ago, if lightning was about to strike twice.
Lots of people complaining about VAR. Don't want to dwell on it too long. It was a lot of decisions in both games.
Yeah.
We'll get to them, but the PK one was a joke. Unless the laws of the game have changed, you can't two-foot anybody.
Sure.
It's a straight red, and how you can sit and miss that, I don't know. But it worries me with some of these VAR decisions. It does. I think it does add to the excitement for us sitting at home. I don't think it adds to the excitement for the people sitting in the stadium, because some of it takes too long. But certainly that changed the course of the game, or could have changed the course of the game with Spain down to 10 men, and then also for the fact that Piqué would have been suspended for a good part of the tournament after that. So quite frankly, it was a shocker.
Looking at it just from the footballing point of view, can Spain regroup? Can they get together? Because they weren't very good against Iran, conceded 3 against Portugal, and you could certainly argue we're lucky tonight.
Well, currently at the moment, you've got the Brazilians in fits and starts. Yeah. You've got the Germans that we don't know what German side is going to turn up. I can't even start with Argentina. Sure. England have gone well, but they're unlikely to go all the way. So yeah, they can. There is time. There is still time to regroup and get your basics right, because there are other teams, big countries. If we think about the real big countries who we expect to be at the end, they're all kind of having their issues at the moment. Belgium have looked great, but there's no real experience at the business end of a World Cup for them.
Let's not forget, they did come out of the group in first place.
Yep, very
having said everything that we have said about Spain, having seen individual performances that were underwhelming, in particular, I thought Thiago Alcántara was no good today. I think he's given an opportunity against a team in Morocco that you think you would have time and space. He didn't really impact the game. You put that all behind you if you're Spain. David De Gea, your mistakes, we put that behind us. Gerard Piqué not getting thrown out when you should have, we put that behind us. We're first in the group. So objective achieved.
Yeah.
it's just not quite the way that you thought it would be.
I thought Morocco were great.
Yeah, they were.
You know, Shaq makes it really-
And they were done and dusted. They had nothing
I mean,
to play for.
nothing to play for. But sometimes you throw out those cliches and that, and those words, you know, pride and desire. But my God, they looked as if a big win. If they could have hammered Spain, they looked as if they were still in the competition. Could have went to the next stage.
The amazing thing for me is you talk about Morocco and how good they look today. Lost against Iran.
Yeah.
Rather ridiculously after dominating.
Yep.
Iran get a draw against Portugal, didn't have a shot on target up until today, yet could have gotten so much more. If these teams had just come out and played from the very first whistle, maybe, just maybe.
They did, Shaq. They played well against Iran, but Iran got another goal. They played well against Portugal, Morocco. In fact, there's an argument to say they've played as well as the team that are top of the group. But they've either not finished their teams off, or they've been done by the own goal, which has cost them, particularly in the first game.
In the end, they were hanging on.
Well, Ronnie misses a penalty, doesn't he? And that,
Indeed.
Which was a penalty, because, again, they went too far, which was super busy, but they went too far. They got it right. But they just came under pressure, and they're rarely going to dominate teams. You know, they're never really going to dominate games. And they couldn't, in the end, the second half, they couldn't dominate this game against Iran. I think the decision for Ronaldo's yellow card, when VAR took an age to look at the off-the-ball incident, personally, I think it was correct. I think there was contact. The arm did come out, but I don't think it was as violent as some would say. I'm looking at social media and there's an outcry why he never got a red card. I personally don't think it was.
I have to say, on first look, I thought it was yellow. Then the more I saw the replays, I thought it was a red, and counts himself lucky not just to stay on the pitch, but then continue on in this tournament. But to Portugal's struggles against this Iran, this is exactly the kind of game that Portugal don't want to play.
Right.
They want to be able to sit back and soak up pressure, and they want to be able to hit you on the counter-attack. That's what they do. That's how they won the Euros. That's when Cristiano Ronaldo and this Portuguese team is at their absolute best. But you come up against a team in Iran who are trying to do exactly that. We've spoken about their struggles so far in this tournament. And then all of a sudden you see Portugal kind of lacking for ideas, unable to get Ronaldo on the ball as he wants, and as a result, struggled. Could have killed the game off, didn't, and then Iran came to life.
Well, we've talked about Messi and him missing a penalty, right? Well, we got to talk about Ronaldo and him missing a penalty, because this was an opportunity to really just calm the game down. Just take the energy out of the game. The moment that penalty is not scored by Ronaldo, the save is made, then Iran feels like they have life. And you could see that they were first to every ball, and they were first to every single rebound, and then now they're getting numbers forward. And even though they're limited in the attack, you couldn't help but feel like Iran was going to get an opportunity. They get the penalty, and then they had a real chance. The ball pops out to the left-hand side, and it's one of those that you think you put it on target, you give yourselves an opportunity. He did not. In the end, Iran, and let's not forget about this. If that ball goes in, not only do they go through as first in the group. So that's how close this group actually was.
But they were, just briefly, they need somebody to take the pressure off Ronaldo, which might sound strange, but he needs somebody up there. It was Andre Silva today, plays for Milan, has had a struggle, wasn't great. It was Guedes in the first game, another youngster, been struggling. There's nobody really up there to take the pressure off him if he's getting marked out of the game.
We know that France are through, Peru are out. It's all about, of course, Denmark or Australia. It's France against Denmark. If Denmark lose and Australia beat Peru and there's enough goal swing, then it will be Australia going through and not Denmark. Let's welcome Julien Laurent into the show, shall we? Jules, you take a look at this, and France, despite the fact they're through, despite the fact they're top, they haven't exactly been setting the world alight. So what can we expect from this side against Denmark tomorrow?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they've improved between the first and the second game, but what we can expect tomorrow is a lot of changes. That's the paradox of it, is that Deschamps is going to change 6 players out of the starting 11 that won against Peru last week. No Lloris, for example, no Pogba, no Mbappe, no Matuidi either, with fresh legs, Sidibé, Lemar, Dembele coming back in the team as well, and Zonzi making his World Cup debut for France, Kimpembe as well at the back. So, you know, half of a brand new team for France. Will that stop the momentum? That's the question. Deschamps says he wants to finish top of the group. A draw is enough for them to do that. There's this stat as well that every time France beat Denmark in a group stage of a big competition, they end up winning it, 84, 98, 2000. Maybe Deschamps will see an omen there. You know, I had to say this one. But yeah, a lot of changes, which I'm still a bit skeptical about it.
Hey, they win given the World Cup now, clearly. That's fine, done and dusted.
Well, it's already given to England, isn't it?
Well, yes, that's a different matter. We played some good opposition.
It's such a great start. It's been. But no, I mean, Gilles mentioned, you know, if he makes half a dozen changes, some of the players that he's bringing in are very good quality.
Yes.
You know, you talk about the full-backs, you talk about Nzonzi coming in. He's a player who a lot of Premier League clubs would take back to the Premier League if he wanted to leave Spain. Dembele, you know, with the pace. I mean, it is a squad rich in talent, which is one of the frustrations so far in the tournament, is why it's been successful for them, but it's not been as aesthetically pleasing as I think the French would like.
Is it the right choice? Would you not want to stick with a strong starting 11 just to give them another chance?
I would. I would stick with my strongest 11. As much as well as they've done in terms of winning their games, I don't think they've looked great. And if they want to go a whole lot deep in this tournament, I think they've got to improve. And this is an opportunity, without any real pressure, to get your best team playing and taking another significant step forward in that direction. I think Deschamps is missing a trick here.
But that's exactly the point, Shaka, is that I don't think Didier Deschamps knows what his best 11 is, what his strongest 11 is. And so if you're just kind of throwing shots in the dark and hoping that something sticks, then it's a sort of approach that he feels, or he seems to have taken over the last few competitions. We go back to the Euros, it was the same thing, making changes in and out. Eventually they got to the final, fail in the final, they get to here the group stage. You would have thought that he would have learned from it, that the players would have learned from it, and we still see inconsistency. So I just don't even know what to expect from Didier Deschamps, because I don't think he knows what to expect from himself and from his players. And that is a tricky place to be.
Meanwhile, of course, in the other game is Australia against Peru. Peru, as I mentioned, are out. Australia still a little bit of a lifeline. Is it going to be as simple as that? They'll get the win against Peru?
Think when I think Peru, I also think sort of Morocco, a team that were capable, played some good stuff, but found themselves, as Morocco did, in the final game with nothing to play for. And clearly, for those that watched the game against Spain, they were way better than that. And by the way, they were better than Portugal in their game against Portugal, and didn't win that one as well. And I kind of think Peru are a little bit like that. They penned the French back from 60 minutes onwards. They missed some good chances. They're big, they're powerful, they're quick. And I think they're way more talented than the Aussies. So I don't see Australia getting what they need to go through.
I think Peru leaving this tournament without anything to show for it would be an embarrassment. I think they go out there to get all 3 points. And I think they can. I think this is a better team than the table suggests.
Who goes through?
Who goes through? France and Denmark.
Julian, away from the World Cup, obviously you're in Russia covering it for us. A lot of rumours going around at the moment about the future of Kylian Mbappe. Of course, initially was on loan, wasn't he, to PSG? Many thought that it would just happen this summer. He would make that move official. Yet some speculation now, because of problems with financial fair play, that PSG may not be his final destination.
Yeah, I'm not sure where those stories are coming from, because there's no truth in it. So PSG have bought him. He's a PSG player now, and yes, there's financial fair play, but PSG need to sell for around 60 million euros before the end of the month to be all okay for at least this year with FFP, and they're almost doing that. Javier Pastore is going to go to Roma for 24 million euros. Yuri Beršić is going to go to Athletic Bilbao for around 20 million euros, and Odsonne Edouard, the young striker, has gone to Celtic Glasgow for around 10 million euros. So in terms of sales, they're done, they're all in the clear and everything. And Kylian Mbappe doesn't want to leave, they don't want to sell him for sure. So there's nothing in it at all. He will be a PSG player next season for sure.
Julian Aron, thank you very much for clearing that up. Just a reminder, ESPN FC with you throughout the World Cup. We are now exclusively on ESPN+. It's a strange whole scenario for Mexico, isn't it? Despite the fact they've won their opening 2 matches, it is possible that they could be eliminated. In the group stages, a defeat against Sweden and other results going against them could see them going home early. For more, looking ahead to that big clash against the Swedes, let's go to 7 home.
Gentlemen, greetings from Ekaterinburg, a city that sits on the geographical line between Europe and Asia. Herc, we are a long way from Mexico's training base in Moscow, and yet, judging by the folks that were on our flight today, I have a sense that Mexico, come Wednesday night against the Swedes in their group phase finale, will once again be the, in air quotes, home team.
Yeah, listen, 40,000+ in Leshniki versus Germany, about 30,000 versus South Korea. Sweden, the biggest game yet. We fully expect it to be another Mexican home crowd. You said it. It's one of the best supported national teams in this tournament. If you take out what is the Russian team, the home team, they have definitely made their presence felt.
Sweden is the opponent Wednesday. They're a very different team than South Korea, a very different team than Germany. We know the manager, Juan Carlos Osorio, likes his rotaciones, likes to make changes. Are there some guys we maybe haven't seen much of so far in this tournament that might be a good fit against the Swedes?
Well, I would argue Tecatito Corona, his ability to get in and out of things on the wings, but the way Carlos Vela is playing and the way Irving and Chucky Lozano are playing, it'll be very difficult to take one of those two guys off of their starting position. Other than that, I know this sounds crazy, but backup goalkeeper Alfredo Talavera may get a look. Juan Carlos Osorio is all about certain adjustments. If he thinks a player is better suited to, like the Swedes, who cross in the ball a lot, who make set pieces a priority, all of a sudden throw-ins are now a set piece weapon. This goalkeeper has some size to him. He's very good in the air. Something Memo Ochoa is not. I know this sounds crazy, but this is right in Juan Carlos Osorio's wheelhouse.
Would be a huge gamble, though, right?
Of course, of course. I mean, I don't think you can make any movements. They've been playing that well. There was one movement made from the Germany starting 11, and I thought it paid off. I thought Carlos Salcedo and Hector Moreno should be the central pairing. They are both very good in the air. Against the Swedes, you will need to combat that, and the rest were impeccable. So I wouldn't change it, but Juan Carlos Osorio, he has that about him. He's going to throw us for a loop. Don't be surprised if Alfredo Talavera is the starting goalkeeper come the game time.
I think it's worth noting, it's been pretty hot at some of these games that we've been covering.
Yes.
And I think of a guy like Andres Guardado, who has been critical to this team, and yet he had an operation just a couple weeks before this tournament. He wasn't 90 minutes fit. Is asking him to start, no matter how much you want to start with the same 11 that's been pretty productive, a big risk in and of itself?
Of course. He came out minute 74 the first game, minute 62 the second game. They said that he had this procedure done. You don't do a procedure pre-World Cup. It's not absolutely necessary. There is something there. He's not 100% fit. We saw Rafa Marquez come in twice for him. I would be surprised if he can go 90 minutes.
Mexican national team will arrive in Ekaterinburg tonight. Their final training session tomorrow before Wednesday's decisive match against Sweden.
I'm joined by former US internationals Casey Keller and Kate Margraf. Guys, I want your input into this quote from Bruce Arena from yesterday after England's 6-1 victory over Panama. He came out and he said the thing that happened today with Panama were typical of CONCACAF competition, but they're never punished for it. In my view, the officiating hurts the progress of the region. He continued, you'd have to be hit over the head with a sledgehammer for them to call a penalty kick in CONCACAF. I feel strongly that we should have been the third team, but we have no one to blame but ourselves.
Well, kind of. No one to blame, but I'm going to blame all the refereeing.
What's he doing, Case?
I think what's difficult is obviously there was a lot of criticism coming that, look, how does the U.S. not qualify if a team like Panama gets in ahead of you and gets pummeled in their first couple games? And okay, look, I understand that there's that defensive mechanism saying, yes, we should have qualified, but there's some reasons why we didn't. And don't get me wrong, I've been on the end of some interesting refereeing decisions in CONCACAF. And yes, it is. It's that progress of we need to include referees from the region, but maybe they're not up to the standard. But how do they get up to the standard if they don't ref in the region? But in the end, just be quiet. Let this tournament get out of its way, and then just start over again and qualify for the next World Cup.
What seems strange, him bringing this up, it wasn't like we were all watching the Trinidad and Tobago match going, oh, the referee's had a shocker, we should have had this penalty here, or he's handed them the goal. They were just awful. And nothing to do with the referee. So why even bring it up?
That's the question that I think we're all asking. That's the reason why we're talking about it right now. Because you're like, why are you even taking the spotlight away from the games currently going on and putting it back on the United States? And people are doing that naturally because of Panama being manhandled or manhandling England and it not working. But why would you even draw the attention back to a huge defeat in which you were the manager that didn't even inspire enough passion to get people sprinting after a ball in the first half when you're already down a goal? And to me, that just, I don't understand why you'd ever put attention back on a huge failure and something you should be embarrassed about as a manager for the
Why does he
It's his
keep putting his
messaging.
head up? Why does he keep popping out the bum?
Honestly, I don't know if it's to try to sell his book or I don't know what the reason is. I think this is just a situation where when somebody calls and asks you, we're just going to let this one go and we'll talk about it later at some stage. But right now it's just bringing attention to something that really you don't want any attention to.
What did you make of yesterday's game from a US perspective? Looking at it at a side that finished two spots ahead.
In some ways, it reminds me of the '90 World Cup and the first game that the U.S. had against Czechoslovakia. You hadn't been in a World Cup in 40 years. Nobody really remembers anything. You have all this passion and all this pride, and then you go try to play against a much better Czechoslovakian team and get beat 5-0. And then pragmatism comes into play, and then you lose 1-0 to Italy in the next game. Where I see this Panama team crying in the national anthem and so excited to be there, and we're going to show the world how good we are. And no, you needed to stay super compact. Don't get stretched. Try to just defend. We've seen Sweden do, as we've seen Iceland do. Yes, it's not attractive, but it can keep you in a game.
But with your US fan hat on, how did it feel?
Embarrassing, sure. Because look, I go back to the last World Cup cycle. Mexico should not have qualified. They needed a gift from Graham Zusi in the 92nd minute, or Panama would have qualified ahead of Mexico for that World Cup, or got into the playoff. Mexico wouldn't even have been in the playoff situation. Was Mexico a better team to go to beat for CONCACAF in Brazil? Of course they were. And they got their stuff together, and they got out of the first round. But that's how it can be. You can get in one of those strange cycles where results aren't going your way. Maybe there's some trouble in the locker room. Maybe there's some problems going on, and it builds. But to say that the U.S. isn't better than Panama or isn't better than Honduras, who lost in the playoff, yeah, it's not the truth. They just had a really bad qualifying cycle and got called out on it.
And I suppose what emphasises that fact is the fact that it's been a poor tournament overall for CONCACAF. Costa Rica out, obviously, Panama out, Mexico the only team advancing, Honduras losing in the playoffs. That doesn't help paint a pretty picture from a US perspective.
No, but the thing is, though, is that Costa Rica took Brazil almost to the end, right? They were able to fight, they were able to put together a good game plan, and they have some dangerous pieces. Mexico shocked Germany with that victory, some great tactics. So why are we not boosting them up? Like, I think if we're finishing fourth in CONCACAF, and Honduras obviously lost to Australia, why are we not cheering for those teams that beat us? And then why are we not cheering for our own region? Because then that bolsters everybody.
Well, I'm never cheering for Mexico. So
yeah, you made that clear.
But the thing, but to that point, I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday and just saying, if you looked at it on paper, the Costa Rican players on paper against Brazil and Serbia, you would really expect Costa Rica to get out of that group? If they did, it would have been tremendous, kind of like we saw them perform 4 years ago. But you're not looking at those teams from an independent standpoint. Take player for player, and you would say those two teams should go through in that group.
So what's the difference, right? Coaching and tactics.
And a little luck.
And a little luck, of course, but something that wasn't there for us in our qualifying cycle.
I want to turn it back, which another quote from Bruce Arena that resurfaced yesterday after England's win is the one where he said, basically, I'd love to see some of those hotshot European sides come over here and play away in the Hex. You know.
Now, when you look at European qualifying and you see the big groups, yes, there's a sprinkling of the San Marinos and the Andorras and the stuff like that fall in there. But when you get in that group, you're usually going to have, out of the 6 or 7, you're going to have 2 or 3 or even 4 really good teams.
Yeah.
1 or 2 marquee teams. And I think, look, if you start to get down in the middle of that group and they have to come over to CONCACAF, okay, I can understand that. But when you're talking about the big boys, they're going to come over and do very well.
The hot shots.
The hot shots will do fine.
Italy, Netherlands, 2 teams that you don't hear complaining right now. Do you think that they would struggle in CONCACAF?
Probably not.
Exactly.
I think they're complaining a lot, just not about CONCACAF. I think they're just at home miserable.
They wouldn't be struggling.
But look, don't get me wrong. I mean, you go down to Guatemala, you go down to Honduras, you go down to some of these places, and I mean, I remember, and I tell stories, you're coming out of a tunnel, and you pop up on the field, and it's surrounded by 150 guys with machine guns, and it's trouble, and you're kind of looking around going, and it's 95 degrees with 95% humidity, and yeah, it's not the grass is maybe this long, and yeah, it's not as if it's just a walk in the park. But the difference would be is if they were qualifying in that, they would understand what they were getting themselves into, and they'd prepare accordingly, and they have better players, and they have, and look, there would be the odd strange result, which you see every once in a while. A Cyprus will beat somebody, or a San Marino will do something, but for the most part, it goes the way it usually goes. The better teams, the best teams are usually through.
Guys, thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. Of course, the World Cup continues, as does our coverage here on ESPN FC.